Hey, what's good, fam? Welcome back to another video. Today, I'm going to be breaking down UFC Fight Night Aljamain Sterling versus Youssef Zalal, giving you guys my full card picks and predictions, starting with the early prelims, ending with the main event. And a lot of interesting fights on this card, a lot of tough matchups to call, to be honest. One of those cards that might be filled with potential upsets. I think the main event is pretty decent. I think this is a good one, at least for a UFC Fight Night Apex card, and one of the better Fight Night cards overall. And that's not saying much, just because this year has been pretty bad. This new Paramount era hasn't had the best start. Hopefully things pick back up. I know we have some good cards scheduled. We got, Hamzat versus Strickland, JDM versus Carlos Prates, and then we got the White House card, obviously. But yeah, hopefully things pick back up, man, because after that UFC Canada, although there were some good fights on that card, overall it was just a mediocre at best. And prior to that, only really the number cards have been the ones that stood out. But yeah, man, let's see if Aljamain Sterling and Youssef Zalal deliver here. Both these guys aren't really finishers, so enough said. But yeah, I'm excited for this one. I did have to dive in, look closely at each matchup. A lot of close lines on this one. So with all that being said, let's dive in. And we did pretty good last weekend, UFC Canada. I think we went 7 for 11. I know I missed a couple picks, but overall it was a pretty good card. And the week prior to that, I think I went 9 for 11. So we're picking back up. We're starting to get things rolling, and I see this being a great card for us as well. So with the first fight of the night, we have Talita Alencar versus Julia Polastri. Woo, this one's actually a pretty good matchup. I think a pretty good women's fight to kick off the card. I've seen both of these girls. I like Julia Polastri. I think she's really good on the feet. Talita Alencar, on the other hand, she's more of a grappler. And I actually even saw her on UFC BJJ, her compete against this girl Mora, who was like 18, 19-year-old. But Talita got her ass handed to her. That girl was just very explosive, knew what she was doing, worked passing guard, putting herself in good positions, ultimately taking the back. No submission in that fight, but overall just got dominated. Granted, Julia Polastri isn't a grappler. Polastri, she's an aggressive pressure fighter with volume. In terms of grappling, I know there's some people out there that's saying that Talita might take her down, control her, but in the fights I've seen, Julia stays busy off her back. Like, she'll look to create space, or at least like put her heels of her foot on the hips of her opponent and try to like kick out and just stay busy. She doesn't just lay there and have the other person just control her for the full round. And I do think there is a clear striking advantage for Julia Polastri in this fight. Alencar, on the other hand, primarily is going to look to take Julia Polastri down. It really just depends on where the fight spends most of the time, whether if it's on the mat. Talita Alencar is probably going to win a decision, but if Julia Polastri is able to defend the takedowns, or she's able to if she is taken down, but is able to work her way back up to her feet, make it competitive, see that she's like, throwing elbows or punches off her back and work her way up, I'm going to go with Julia Polastri here. I think Julia Polastri gets it done. This is a very like Polastri pushing the pace. Alencar is going to look to either, counter strike or get in the takedowns. I think this is going to be a fun scrap. And both girls are pretty good. So this should be an exciting women's fight. I know I don't say that at all, but I'm actually pretty excited or interested into seeing how this fight ends. But for the official pick, I'm going to go with Julia Polastri to get it done by decision. I think she'll just be able to piece up Talita Alencar on the feet, possibly lose a round where she is on her back, but get it done in 2 out of the 3 rounds. Then we got Max Griffin versus Victor Valenzuela. So this fight I know is on short notice for both guys. I think mainly Max Griffin. I don't know if Victor Valenzuela had a fight scheduled. However, Victor, this dude, I did see him on the regional scene. He does have heavy hands. This will be his UFC debut. So just be wary if you're thinking about betting on this one, because, you know, Max Griffin is a veteran. Unfortunately, this dude is 40 years old. So, you know, do with that information as you please. But Victor Valenzuela, I have seen him. He is durable. I had seen him get rocked, I think, in one of his fights, but he came back and knocked the dude out. And it wasn't like a rock, you know, he took some heavy punches, but he still seemed there, you know, seemed like he had his wits about him, and ultimately just like stayed in the fight, stayed tough. And I think that's essentially what he's going to be doing in this fight against Max Griffin. You know, Griffin being a veteran, he is tough, he is durable, he is a high volume striker with a good chin. But, you know, he is 40. We have seen him kind of decay over time. I think he does have cardio. I don't know how he's going to come into this fight on short notice. Has he been training? How does he look? I probably would say this is more of a wait till weigh-ins type of situation. But yeah, he definitely has the experience edge here over Valenzuela. In terms of weaknesses for Max Griffin, you know, he isn't the biggest puncher, like power puncher. He can be out grappled, although I don't really see this fight hitting the mat. But yeah, in recent form, he's been up and down. But he just makes fights competitive, but he either wins or loses. He is coming off a loss. Valenzuela, on the other hand, this dude, I believe, will be a rising prospect with a well-rounded game and does have power in those hands. He is athletic. He's young. He has the finishing upside in this fight. And yeah, the only knock you can say on this dude is just that this is his debut. You know, he doesn't really have that UFC experience like Max Griffin does, which I think is what is going to make this fight close. But we have a veteran, a grinder in Max Griffin versus a young, you know, athletic prospect. I think Griffin is going to try to wear Valenzuela down over 15 minutes, but I think Valenzuela gets the finish. I'm going to go Valenzuela by KO. I think he's going to go in here. He's going to be the hungrier guy, going to be looking to make a name. And against a guy like Max Griffin, this would be a great start in the UFC. So give me Valenzuela. I like his durability. I like his power in his hands. I like his he doesn't have the best technique, but I think it's enough to get it done over Max Griffin. So give me Valenzuela as the official pick by KO. All right, and then we got Francis Marshall versus Lucas Skywalker Brennan. Yeah, that's his nickname, Lucas Skywalker. And he is a BJJ nerd, so makes sense. But we have Francis Marshall. This dude is athletic striker with good power and improved grappling. He's explosive. He is going to have the reach advantage here, and he does have that finishing instinct with which I like. You know, he is going to use his explosiveness, his technical ability to work in, but ultimately chase a finish. He doesn't like gas himself or exert energy in the sense of where the other guy can potentially survive and then finish him. No, he looks for the finish in like a strategic way. Like, he's not going to gas himself. The best example is like a Mike Malott who finished Gilbert Burns last weekend. Like, Mike Malott wasn't rushing for the finish. He did hurt Gilbert Burns, I believe, in the second round, but he stayed patient and didn't really chase it, because honestly, I think he even knows he has a gas tank problem, but he ultimately ended up getting it done in the third round. So Francis Marshall kind of also has that instinct where if he sees an opponent hurt, he is going to, put on a little bit more pressure, a little bit more pace to ultimately end up finishing him, but he's not going to like immediately jump and like wear himself out to get the finish. So, and Francis Marshall, this dude's great overall. I went back and I saw his fight against Maran Santos. I think he won that fight. I think he got robbed there. That was a crazy decision. Maran ended up saying that he won the second and third round, but dude, it could have easily went to Francis Marshall. He definitely won that first round, and either the second or third, the judges could have gave to him. So I was actually shocked rewatching that fight and listening to the judges. So that was one of his two losses, one of his three losses in his last fight. The last one was prior to that against Isaac Dolgarian, who Isaac Dolgarian is a beast, and it was clear that he was involved in some type of betting scandal. But aside from that, he lost a split decision to William Gomez, and his two wins are pretty good. He won a split against Dennis Bazooka, and then most recently submitted Eric Silva. I don't see Lucas Brennan being on the level of a Isaac Dolgarian or even a Maran Santos. So this is going to be Lucas Brennan's debut. I probably would hedge this fight with a Lucas Brennan by sub. Just because jiu-jitsu is like his main game. But Francis Marshall is great overall. Looked good in his last fight. Looked good against his Marion Santos. He's part of a good team. He's out of, I believe. I thought he was out of American Top Team, but I could be wrong. But he's from New Jersey. Sorry, not from American Top Team, but. He's a guy out of New Jersey. I think guys from New Jersey tend to get it done. There's just something about people from New Jersey that just have something about them, man. They're just vicious people and very confrontational. That's the word. Confrontational. And is he really gonna lose to a guy from Texas? I don't know. I like Francis Marshall here. My official pick. Does he get him out of there? That's to be seen. I would go Francis Marshall by decision here, but there is a pretty big possibility that he gets it done by KO. So I don't know. Give me Francis Marshall to get it done over Lucas Brennan, and I will say, fuck it. Give me the KO. I think he KOs this dude because I feel like if Lucas Brennan isn't able to get his jiu-jitsu going, his I don't even know if he throws him Minari rolls, but if he isn't able to get the takedown, he isn't able to take Francis Marshall's back, which I did see one of his fights. He does have really good mechanics. When he takes your back, I think this dude will submit Francis Marshall, but we'll see if it gets to that point. So give me Marshall. All right, and then we got Jafel Filho versus Cody Durden. I've been a pretty big fan of Jafel Filho since his fight against Muhammad Makayev. I think he gave Makayev probably the best run for his money than any other fighter in the UFC, or I think outside of the UFC, because he had him in that knee bar, man. And I don't know how Makayev survived and did not tap to that, but he definitely couldn't walk straight or walk normal for at least a few weeks after that. So Jafel Filho, though, this dude is fast. He has improved his striking. He does carry some power in those hands, but he does have speed. He puts on good combinations. He has a cardio. I think his best attribute, though, is his grappling. Not necessarily wrestling, but his jiu-jitsu is really great. If he gets to the mat, he's always looking to throw up submissions. But he just has struggled a little bit with like wrestlers. But on the other side, we have Cody Durden. This dude is a veteran. He's very durable. which is the most like I just wanted to say a nice thing about Cody Durden. He is durable, but yeah, he does put on the pace though. I feel like age has caught up to him, and his record is, shows that age, because I believe he is on a 4-fight losing streak here, and I'm gonna go with Filho here to get it done over Cody Durden. Yeah, he's on a 4-fight losing streak. He lost to Naim Tumendembrel, which I think a guy like Filho would beat. Prior to that, he lost to Alan Nascimento, who Filho also lost to. It's not a bad loss. And then before that, got KO'd by Jose Ochoa, and then lost to Joshua Van by decision. On the other hand, Filho has only lost to Mohamed Makayev and Alan Nascimento. So 2 notable losses, like, no shame in losing to Makayev. And then he's had some great wins. He beat Daniel Bowers by sub, beat Ade Osborne by sub, and then beat Clayton Carpenter by sub. So this dude's submission game is one of the best, especially at, I believe this fight is at bantamweight. But he is a flyweight. I was gonna say one of the best at flyweight, but even bantamweight too. But give me Filho. Doesn't matter if it's flyweight, bantamweight. He's gonna get it done over Cody Durden. So moving on, we got Mayra Bueno Silva versus Michelle Montague. Now this girl I know trains out of American Top Team, or at least is for this fight. Mayra Bueno Silva on the other hand too. I think she's on the same boat as Cody Durden. I think she is on a 4-fight losing streak herself, and before that it was a no contest. So Mayra Bueno Silva, this girl, 34 years old. I think she's over that hill. Michelle Montague. This girl, 32 years old, and I think she's on the rise. I think she gets a win here over declining Mayra Bueno Silva. I would just be careful with the submission here too on the Bueno Silva side, maybe as a hedge. I think if she does get it to the ground, she could chase a submission. She does train out of Shuto Box with Diego Lima, so take that with a grain of salt. But Bueno Silva, she is a veteran, somewhat powerful striking and good grappling. She was a former title challenger. She does have good leg kicks, body work, and experience against top competition. So, which is why I think this is making it a closer fight. But yeah, recently she's just been on a downtrend. She can be out wrestled, and durability in the later rounds is very questionable for Bueno Silva. On the other hand, we got an undefeated prospect in Michelle Montague. She is a strong wrestler, grappler with good athleticism. She does have good takedowns, good top control, and she is the younger fighter here. The only, I guess, weakness or thing that you can note is the limited UFC experience, and her striking is still developing. But even with all that, I think she gets it done over Mayra Bueno Silva. I think by decision, but who knows? There could be a finish in the later rounds. But I'm going to go Montague by decision here over Mayra Bueno Silva. All right, and then we got Jackson Mcvey versus Sedriques Dumas. Whew. Dana White must like this guy Sedriques Dumas to keep him on the roster. I think he feels like he's doing good for the cause, because if he keeps Sedriques Dumas in the UFC, this guy is not out there committing crimes. He's gonna have to spend some time in the gym. He's gonna have to put in some type of work, and the more time he's in the gym, the less time he's out there committing felonies, committing crimes, home invasions, whatever it may be. But hey man, I'm honestly like indifferent about him being in the UFC, but if he keeps him out of trouble, fuck it. He is fighting a guy in Jackson Mcvey. Jackson Mcvey, this dude is a decent striker. He does have pretty good wrestling and jiu-jitsu. He is young. He is athletic. He does have explosiveness. He will pressure forward and look for a finish. But you know, his technique still can use some work, and he can be out grappled and out pointed by veterans. And he did get submitted by Bruno Ferreira. Dumas, on the other hand, say what you want, but this dude is pretty well rounded. He does have good striking and grappling. You know, he's a solid fighter. He isn't anything special, but his losses aren't that bad either. His last fight was against Dante Johnson, who is a rising prospect, and he lost by submission. Dumas has pretty good fight IQ, because he did try to take Dante Johnson down, because like Dante Johnson just throws and has knocked out people before. So he did the smart thing. And in this fight, I think I'm going to take Dumas to get the win. Dumas lost to Dante Johnson by sub his last fight. Before that, it was a no contest against Zach Reese. Before that, lost to Michael Olejniczuk, or the 2.0 version of Michael Olejniczuk. And then before that, won a decision against Dennis Tululum, and then got knocked out by Nursultan Rizaboyev. So all three of his losses, I think all three guys are better than Jackson Mcvey. Put it that way. Where Jackson Mcvey is coming off of 2 losses, one against Zach Reese and then once against Bruno Ferreira. Again, 2 guys that are also better than Sedriques Dumas. But I think Sedriques Dumas is going to have a little bit more to fight for here. I wish I was in, like, you know, in the locker room talking up, like, dude, doesn't this guy look like the guy who called the cops on you? Like, you know, who got you arrested? Like, say some shit like that, you know, just to hype him up. This dude might go out there and, like, slime Jackson Mcvey after that, but I'm going to take Sedriques Dumas. I think this dude needs a lot more than Jackson Mcvey, to be honest with you. Like, if he gets a win here, it's like, all right, cool. I don't gotta try to go rob someone's house or you know, rob a convenience store or something. He'll be like, you know, I got my money. Let me get back to the gym, do my thing. Where Jackson Mcvey, man, this dude, I don't know what he does on a Friday night, really. Like, his look is just too ambiguous for me. But I'm gonna go with Sedriques Dumas here to get it done over Jackson Mcvey. I'm gonna say decision. I don't think he finishes him. I think Dumas might come out there and try to just grapple fuck Jackson Mcvey, keep it competitive on the feet, and just edge out a close win. Then we got Rodolfo Vieira versus Eric McConico. This one was pretty tough, to be honest with you. I was back and forth on who to go with this one. If Rodolfo Vieira didn't come off a KO loss to Bo Nickel, I probably would have been more confident on this one. But I am going to go with Rodolfo Vieira to get it done over Eric McConico. I think Rodolfo is going to be able to avoid the big shots only enough. He's going to be able to avoid the big shots long enough to get a takedown, which might be like, 30 seconds or maybe less. And on the ground, once he gets it to the mat, this dude is like high level or highest level BJJ, and he's probably going to get a submission. So I'm going to go with Rodolfo Vieira by submission over Eric McConico. I think he's just going to be too much to handle. I don't know if Eric McConico has the defensive knowledge on the mat against a guy like Rodolfo Vieira, because even if he stays safe, I just don't see him getting up. I see him like losing the round, get taken down again. Rodolfo will threaten for submissions, and once he has something locked, I think it's game over. So give me Rodolfo Vieira to get it done. And it's not like Eric McConico is on this like crazy streak, right? He is coming off a loss as well. He's coming off a KO loss to Balsinger Suzurkayev, who is good. That dude is a good prospect. And the punch that he landed, he just like knocked him out clean, man. This dude, no follow-up. He was out with one punch. So both guys are coming off of KO losses. And then before that, Rodolfo Vieira beat Tresean Gore, which now, if you think about it, is actually a pretty decent win because Tresean Gore went out and beat Azamat Bakayev after getting the shit beat out of him, and Bakayev gassing out. Tresean Gore came out and got the finish win. So put some respect on that dude's name. So I'm putting some respect on Rodolfo Vieira for getting that win. Before that, he lost to Andre Petrosky, who I honestly think is a solid fighter. Like, if you're gonna build a solid, like, mid-table fighter, that's who you build, is Andre Petrosky. And then before that, got a win over Armin Petrosian, who I do kind of rate pretty high. He got a submission over him, and then a submission win over Cody Brundage. So the competition is there. He's getting wins against decent level competition, and losing to guys in Andre Petrosky and Bo Nickel, who, hey, I don't think anyone expected that Bo Nickel head kick, okay? Not even Rodolfo Vieira. No one. If there was a Bo Nickel head kick KO slip out there somewhere, which I guarantee there wasn't, I wouldn't be protected. If I'm fighting Bo Nickel, what am I really worried about? I'm worried about the takedown, right? I'm not worried about covering my head. So it was a smart game plan or idea by Bo Nickel to do that against a guy like Rodolfo Vieira. And personally, I don't even think Bo Nickel wanted to shoot on him, because once he took him down, Rodolfo Vieira's guard game, his jiu-jitsu is enough to make it competitive. I don't think he would have, just controlled him for the whole round. So all that being said, give me Rodolfo Vieira to get it done over Eric McConico. Then we got another jiu-jitsu guy. We got Marcus Buchecha versus Ryan Spann. I'm going to go with Ryan Spann to get it done over a guy in Marcus Buchecha. I like Van's size. I like his UFC experience. I like his power. I like his takedown defense. I think it's a recipe for disaster for Marcus Buchecha. And to be honest with you, I'm not really sold on Marcus Buchecha. I don't really know why he's in the UFC. I think he missed that cutoff where, he could have made something out of his jiu-jitsu accolades into financial monetary success, because he just missed that cutoff. Because there were a lot of guys, and kind of privy to it now, that there were guys who were big into jiu-jitsu, but there wasn't really any money in it. So their most logical next step was to get into MMA and ultimately, fight for the UFC, Bellator, PFL, whatever it may be. But now jiu-jitsu has exploded so much where if Buchecha was a little younger, he could have been in UFC BJJ, or he could have been competing in one of these other bigger organizations, or at least making money off of it. I think he kind of came into MMA as a way to make money. I don't know if he's really sold on it. I know he's really sold on jiu-jitsu, but this is MMA, man, and one punch can make a difference, and I think that's exactly what's going to happen in this fight against Ryan Spann. We got Marcus Buchecha coming off a draw against Kennedy Nzechukwu. Before that, a decision loss to Martin Buday. A win against a guy by submission before that, but that was in one. And Ryan Spann is coming off a submission win against Lucas Brzezinski. Before that, he does have a loss to Waldo Cortez Acosta, but that's not a bad loss. Waldo Cortez Acosta is a top heavyweight now. So I like Ryan Spann. I think he defends a takedown, or at least rocks Buchecha bad enough where he tries shooting for the takedown, which makes it easier for him to stuff it. And then from there, just follow up and ground and pound him, or just knock him out clean. Marcus Buchecha's really only shot is if Ryan Spann for some reason or another shoots on Buchecha and takes it to the mat willingly. Then you might have to start panicking, because that'd be the most stupidest that'd probably be the stupidest game plan that I can think of for a guy like Ryan Spann. But give me Ryan Spann as the official pick by KO over Marcus Buchecha. Then we got Montel Jackson versus Raoni Barcelos. I think this is a good fight. Raoni Barcelos has been on a fucking resurgence, man. This dude at, I believe, 39 years old is coming in here. Yeah. 38 years and 11 months. So he's basically 39 years old and is on a 4-fight win streak. Who do you know that's on a 4-fight win streak at 39 years old? And it's not against any schmucks, you know. He's got a win over Ricky Simone, before that Cody Garbrandt, Peyton Talbot, damn, and then Christian Quinones. Dude, those 4 guys, I'm just like, whew. You know, if there was a prospect with those 4 names like in his prime, there'd be talks of him potentially fighting like for a number 1 contender spot or something. And granted, if he had like, you know, what is it, media backing, or like, you know, his name was big enough. But Raoni Barcelos, good for him, man. At 39 years old, beating these young guys, and then some older vets in Cody Garbrandt. Good for him. And we got Montel Jackson, who's coming off a loss against Davison Figueiredo. I think that was a good loss for him. I think he was able to learn a lot from that, you know, against a grappler and very high IQ fighter in Figgy. Before that, he was on a tear. You know, he beat Daniel Marcos by decision, KO Damon Blackshear, and then another KO win, and then a decision win against Julio Arce. But Monte Jackson was on the roll. I think that loss against Davison Figueiredo was necessary, I think, for his progression, for his development. And I think he goes out here and gets it done over Raoni Barcelos. I think Raoni Barcelos did put on a good streak. I don't know how long. I don't know how far this streak is going to go. Is he really going to beat a guy in Montel Jackson and just continue beating guys at bantamweight at 39? I think Montel Jackson is going to be able to do either defend the takedowns, land the bigger shots, potentially get Raoni Barcelos out of there. I know Montel carries power in his hands, and I think he learned a lot from that Davison Figueiredo fight. I know there's a lot of people comparing Raoni to Davison Figueiredo and saying if Figueiredo could do that to him, Raoni Barcelos can. And I get that argument. Like I'm not fully against it, but I think Montel Jackson it's his size, his power, his striking ability against an aging guy who we have seen slowed down, who doesn't have the highest fight IQ. Granted, like he doesn't have Figgy's fight IQ. So I don't know. This is a close matchup. I'll give you guys that. And this is, like, in my opinion, closer to 50-50. But I'm going to lean the side of Montel Jackson. And I'm going to go decision here. Montel Jackson by decision. All right. And then we got Davey Grant versus Adrian Luna Martinetti. So Davey Grant, man, this dude also another vet. I think this dude is almost 40. He's 40 years of age against Adrian Luna Martinetti, who is coming off of I went back and I saw the fight against Vologden. It was a fantastic fight. I feel like the fact that I heard it from so many people that this was like the greatest fight of all time or in Contender Series history, I think I hyped it up too much in my head. When I actually saw the fight, I was just like, all right, it was a spectacular fight, but did it really deserve all that merit? I don't know. But granted, still one of the best fights I have seen. And Adrian Luna Martinetti was the winner of that fight. And he's fighting a guy in Davey Grant. This dude, yes, he is 40 years old. Coming off a loss, too. A loss against Charles Jourdain by submission, where Adrian Luna is on a win streak here. I think he's won 7. I know he's definitely won 5 of his last. He is 17-1. So he's on a crazy win streak. He showed his toughness. He showed his durability against Vologden. And he's fighting a guy in Davey Grant who I think is at 40 years old. Is he really gonna get it done? There's a couple people on Davey Grant here, and I'm surprised. I think Adrian Luna is gonna come forward, put on a good pace, gonna pressure him, and potentially get him out of there. I'm gonna go with Adrian Luna Martinetti to get it done by KO. I like his well-roundedness. I think he has sharp striking. I think he has pretty good grappling. He is technical. You know, he has youth. He's carrying momentum off that Contender Series win. I know this is a big step for him in competition against a guy in Davey Grant, who is a dangerous veteran with wild, high output striking. He does carry power in his hands. He does put on good volume. He is durable. But yeah, his defense isn't the greatest. And I think age is going to be a factor here. So I'm gonna take the side of Adrian Luna. I think he's going to be able to take the shots that Davey Grant is going to throw his way, and then land big shots back to Davey Grant. I think he's going to have the bigger moments. And this is a classic veteran versus prospect matchup, man. And I'm going to go with the prospect here. I think Martinetti's technique should shine here. I think Grant is going to have his moments. He's going to, create some type of chaos. But I think Adrian Luna is going to be fine in the chaos. We saw the fight against Vologden. He didn't back down. He showed his toughness, his durability, which I think he'll show here against a guy in Davey Grant. And I think Vologden has a better chin. Yeah, I think he has a great chin. I think Vologden has a great chin, which... can't say the same about Davey Grant. So give me Adrian Luna Martinetti to get it done by KO. Then we got Rafa Garcia versus Alexander Hernandez. Oof. This is one where I was back and forth, man, because I was very high on Alexander Hernandez when I saw this fight. And then I go and I do some studying. I do some tape watching. And then I look at Rafa Garcia and I was like, this dude is durable. He's tough. He's always going to be there. And if Alexander Hernandez, kind of slows down after the first round, I think Rafa Garcia can take over. So this was very 50-50 for me. But Garcia... this dude is a grinder. He's tough. He has strong top control if he gets it down to the mat. He has good cardio. He doesn't really slow down as the fight progresses. He does bring pressure. His striking is very basic, which is why I'm leaning Hernandez here. I think Hernandez has the explosive striking. He has the power, the athleticism. We have seen him put guys out before. He does have speed. He is very creative on the feet. He can be taken down and controlled, but I've seen good scrambles. I've seen good takedown defense from Alexander Hernandez, and Rafa Garcia isn't a top guy at lightweight when it comes to grappling. He isn't an Arman Sarukian. He isn't a Charles Oliveira, Islam, whatever. But and in this we got a grinder, like grappler versus striker here. And I'm gonna lean the side of Alexander Hernandez. I think he's just gonna be a little bit too creative on the feet. He's gonna be in and out. He's gonna have good footwork. He's gonna land the prettier shots, do some damage on Rafa Garcia's. And if he doesn't gas out, if Hernandez does not gas out, he should get the win here against Rafa Garcia's. If after the first round, this dude fucking gets to the stool and is huffing and puffing and fucking hands on his knees and like leaning over and give me water, type of shit. I would live bet Rafa Garcia is there because Alexander Hernandez is most likely going to win the first round. I think it just comes down to 2 and 3. Is Rafa Garcia going to be able to win 2 and 3, or is Alexander Hernandez able to hedge out, like, say, example 2, and then have a fucking dicey third round, man, where Rafa Garcia is coming in strong, maybe takes him down, a little ground and pound, like, you're fucking, holding your breath that the ref doesn't, like, hop in, and And ultimately, Hernandez survives and gets the decision win. But with all that being said, I'm going to go with Alexander Hernandez to get it done by decision over Rafa Garcia. All right, and then we got the main event, the co-main event of the evening. We got Norma Dumont versus Jocelyn Edwards. Damn, Norma Dumont looks spectacular here. Norma Dumont, this girl striking is very impressive. I went back and watched that UFC Sphere card, and Norma Dumont striking was what I forgot what I said in my head. I was like, she looks like a guy out there in a good way. Like that's some man's like striking. Like her technique was crisp, her defense was great. She was circling from the outside, counter striking. Her striking just looks so impressive. She's a Muay Thai specialist with great striking, powerful kicks, and her grappling has improved. And she's a high rank contender. I think if she wins this fight, she could potentially be in title contention after this. She has very good distance control. She does have power in those hands. And I think her main weakness, though, and we haven't really seen it, is she can be out wrestled, especially by elite grapplers. Her wrestling or her grappling isn't, who would I say? Isn't like, Valentina Shevchenko level grappling or Zhang Weili grappling. It's not near close to that, but she makes up with it with fucking fantastic striking. So on the other side, we have Jocelyn Edwards. This girl is a veteran now. She kind of like, I think she had a few losses. This girl just reinvented herself. I know that she kind of, she had two back-to-back losses to Nora Cornell and then Eileen Perez, and then after that, this girl just changed her fucking ways, man. She's on a 4-fight win streak. She beat Tamaris Vidal, Chelsea Chandler, Priscilla Cachoeira, and now most recently Nora Cornell. But then again, I read that and I'm like, is that really like high level competition? Like decent, right? She is on the finishing streak, which is what makes it impressive. Not the names, but the fact that she was able to finish all 4 of those girls, and now she's fighting a girl, Norma Dumont, who I believe is on a fucking 7-fight win streak herself. Yeah, six wins. 6-fight win streak. I'm going to go with Norma Dumont here by decision. I don't think she'll be able to get Jocelyn Edwards out of there. Jocelyn, this girl is young. Not young, but like she's athletic. She does put on the pace. She has shown a ton of improvement. And yeah, she's 30 years old, which is why I was like not young, but like not old either. So Norma Dumont is, on the other hand, a little bit on the older side, 35 years old, but it's women's MMA. I'm gonna go with her keeping the distance, striking at range, landing clean shots, making it look nice, making it look pretty, good defense, mixing in the leg kicks. And if she doesn't get taken down and controlled on the mat, I think she should be fine here to get a decision win. And even if it does hit the mat, I think she'll be able to stay safe. Maybe lose a round here to Jocelyn Edwards. Jocelyn Edwards may make it competitive. But give me Norma Dumont in the co-main to get it done by decision. And then in the main event, we got Aljamain the Funk Master Sterling versus Youssef Zalal. I was back and forth, man. I when I first saw this fight, I was, Youssef Zalal should win this. Then I go back and watch. I'm like, Aljamain Sterling looks good, especially against his fight against Movsar Evloev. Woof, he could have won that fight. Man, but I feel like if Aljamain Sterling was in his prime, or if he was 30 years old, I would go with Aljamain Sterling here, but at 36 years old, it's kind of hard to pick him against a guy in Yusuf Zalal who is on a win streak himself. He has shown a complete resurgence and made the adjustments. Looks good out there. Man, this is going to be a close one. All I know is this is probably going to go to decision. I'm going to say decision. If I have to make a pick, which this is so hard, I'm going to go with Yusuf Zalal. I don't like it, but at the same time I do, because my heart, or at least, you know, part of me is saying go with Sterling. And it's honestly just because I like Sterling. I think this dude gets unwarranted hate. And that was mainly the reason why I was going to go with him. But I'm going to go with Yusuf Zalal. I think his striking will be the difference maker here. I think the grappling, I think Sterling does hold an edge. But I think Yusuf Zalal can keep it on the feet. And if it does hit the mat, I think you'll be able to stay safe. And it is a 5-round fight. So I think his striking will be enough to make the difference. So I know that wasn't too much of an explanation here in this one. It's just I was just like so back and forth, man. Sterling, you know, this dude is a former champ, man. Elite wrestler in BJJ, and he has proven that. You know, great cardio, good pace. He did move up to featherweight. So not too questionable on the chin, which is why I don't really see a finish here. So yeah, he does have great top control. You know, I don't know if his nickname, because it is the Funk Master, but he would call himself the Human Backpack. So, because once he gets to your back, you know, it's either a wrap or you're staying there for the full fucking round. But yeah, Yusuf Zalal, on the other hand, rising contender, well-rounded game, strong wrestling, good striking, good submissions. He is the younger fighter. He does have good length for this division. He's carrying the momentum, I believe, here between the two guys. And although he does have less experience at the highest level than Aljamain Sterling, this is the next step in his progression to becoming champion. Like, he has to fight a guy in Aljamain Sterling. Like, a lot of people say, oh, he doesn't have experience, or oh, he's too new. Well, yes, that's true sometimes when they rush guys, but I don't think they've rushed Yusuf Zalal here. I think Aljamain Sterling is the accurate next step in his UFC like progression career to the belt or whatever he's trying to do. And all I know is going to be a great fight. He can be out wrestled here by Sterling. Will he? I don't think so. But yeah, it might be a grappling heavy chess match here, but at the same time, I think it just stays on the feet. They usually say when you have two high level like strikers, sometimes they end up like grappling, or if you have two high level grapplers, they end up striking, which I think the latter is the more likely outcome, or what's happened the most is when they're two very high level grapplers, they're going to probably end up striking with each other because like the grappling cancels out. So give me Yusuf Zalal here. I don't like it, but which is why I'm going with the pick of Yusuf Zalal, because I really want to go with Sterling, but I know Yusuf Zalal is the pick here. So that being said, let me run down my picks. We got Julia Polastri to get it done over Talita Alencar, Victor Valenzuela over Max Griffin, Francis Marshall over Lucas Brennan, Jafel Filho to get it done over Cody Durden, Michelle Montague over Mayra Bueno Silva, Sedriques Dumas over Jackson Mcvey, Rodolfo Vieira to get it done over Eric McConico. Then I got Ryan Spann over Buchecha, Montel Jackson versus Montel Jackson over Ronnie Barcelos, Adrian Luna Martinetti to get it done over Davey Grant, Alexander Hernandez over Rafa Garcia, Norma Dumont to get a win over Jocelyn Edwards, and Yusuf Zalal to get it done over the Funk Master Sterling in the main event. So those are my picks. Those are my predictions for this fight card. Let's fucking sweep it. Let's fucking sweep top to bottom. I'm confident about this one. Hope you guys like the breakdown. Hope you guys like the picks. You know, please leave comments. You know, let me know your guys' picks. And stay tuned for the next video. Please like and subscribe. And see you guys in the next one.